call this evening's meeting to order, and I would ask the deputy clerk to please call the council roll.
Yes, sir. Councilman Fogarty?
Yeah.
Councilman Lawson?
Here.
Council Vice President Rigo?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Souza?
Here.
Council President Rodrick?
Here, let the record show that everyone is present on the council. You please rise for the pledge to the flag.
I pledge
allegiance
to the flag
Thank you. We, as usual, will move the beginning of the agenda around a little bit. First of all, I just want to thank everyone and apologize. The past week, I was pretty much out of it. I was down with a stomach bug, and so many of you, maybe I didn't return an email or a phone call. I know I missed several events during the past week. Thank all of you and the council for attending. And as they said in one of those old movies, I can't remember which one, but I'm back. So things are doing pretty well today. Thank you all. Right now, we'll go to the consent calendar first, Deputy Clerk.
Yes, sir. Consent calendar for discussion and possible vote. Council journals, executive session minutes, May 2nd, 2023, and the regular meeting minutes, May 2nd, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Rigo to approve, seconded by Councilwoman Souza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, unanimous. Thank you. This time, without objection, going to move from page 6, the item entitled hiring of the city clerk. As you know, led by Councilwoman Souza, who chaired a screening process along with Councilman Lawson, former city clerk, Valerie Perry, also who was a former city councilwoman. They went through some 76 or so applications, got it down to 6 or 8. Then the full council had a couple of rounds of interviews. And before I entertain a motion in that regard, Councilwoman, do you want to add anything to the process that you chaired?
Thank you, Council President. I will just say that this was done in a very transparent and open way for the public. It was one that we vetted carefully to make sure that we were getting someone, right, that is qualified, someone who is qualified for the position, because that position in office does hold vital records and have a very important role in our community with our residents and businesses. So I think the council as a whole and the hiring committee did its due diligence, and the community should be, and the office should be proud of the person that's selected, and I'm looking forward to working with that person along with the council members.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you for your work. This time I would entertain a motion.
Council President, I move to appoint Jill Seppa as the city of East Providence City Clerk.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Souza, seconded by Councilman Lawson to hire Ms. Jill Seppa, that's S-E-P-P-A, for the position of city clerk. Deputy Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Councilman Fogarty?
Aye.
Councilman Lawson?
Aye.
Council Vice President Rigo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Souza?
Aye.
Council President Rodrick?
Aye. The motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you all. Ms. Seppa is here with us tonight, and at this time I would invite her to please come to the podium. We will have a swearing in, and then we will invite you to join us.
Turner.
Thank you. So I state your name.
Jill Seppa.
Solemnly swear, ready, please raise your right hand also. Solemnly swear that I will be true and faithful. You can repeat after me, please.
I solemnly swear that I will be true and faithful
Unto the state and support the laws and constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States.
unto the state and support the laws and constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States.
Reading wasn't part of the interview process, so I understand. And that I will be well and truly, and that I will well and truly execute the office of city clerk
And that I will well and truly execute the office of city clerk
in the city of East Providence
in the city of East Providence
and the ordinances and charters of the city of East Providence
and the ordinances and charters of the city of East Providence
for the ensuing year or until I am legally discharged therefrom, so help me God.
for the ensuing year until I am legally discharged. So help me God.
So it's now official. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Join us here, don't trip. Yeah. We will have another time to speak more about the process and to thank our deputy clerk, Ms. Stoddard, who has filled in more than admirably and will still, of course, be with us in this process. I know that some might say, well, that's okay, she's doing her job. Well, there's doing your job and there's going beyond and doing extra. And Madam Deputy Clerk, you certainly went beyond. I know every time I called you for things like how do you read to swear in somebody and stuff like that, you were, yeah, you didn't do too well teaching me on that. But you were always right there with the paperwork and making copies and getting everything done. So thank you. At this time, I would also move from page 5, the Nurses Month proclamation and other awards that Councilwoman Souza will make at this time. And without objection, I'd ask Councilwoman Souza to please proceed.
Thank you, Council President. We need to get a step stool for us short people. Just saying. Thank you, Council President and council members. So as many may or may not know, May is Nurses Month, National Nurses Month. It is a month-long celebration for the work that all nursing professions, regardless of their role in nursing, do and how they successfully impact the lives of those in the community throughout their stages of life and throughout different healthcare settings. I felt that it was very important that not only in general, we recognize the selfless work that nurses do, but today I wanted to recognize our school nurses here in the city of East Providence. So I know in our community we have various healthcare settings that house many nurses, nursing aides, practical nurses, and nurse practitioners. But in our schools, dealing with our children and our staff, we have a special breed of nurses who are school nurses. And their role is very important as they deal with a wide variety of challenges in our schools. So they're not just meeting the needs of our children physically, but there are emotional needs, mental health needs, and spiritual needs that come along with their role. Nurses are not simply somebody who slaps a Band-Aid or gives you a Tylenol or your prescription or insulin. They're actually there as social workers, as a shoulder to lean on, someone to spend countless hours counseling children who may or may not have difficult home lives. They provide resources for those children in the community and their families so that they can have a meaningful quality of life and do well in school. Because at the end of the day, if a student is not mentally engaged, they're not going to learn. And that also has an emotional component to that. So I'm very thankful for our nurses in our schools. And the senior center also has our healthy aging nurse who deals with our aging population and provides multitudes of services from wellness checks to different clinics and resources to our aging adult, which is something that, as we know in our population, those numbers have increased. So the workload is substantial. So I would like to individually call out the school nurses' names so that the community is aware of who our school nurses are and in which school they assist our young learners. I'm just going to move that up here and move that down. Can we hear me okay? Still good. So, and I apologize if the name is not accurately said. The font is really fancy, so I might botch it a little bit. So the recognition is to always right there to give comfort and care, steady and wise when temperatures rise, compassionate and kind with a medical mind, skilled and alert when people are hurt, helpful and nice when given advice, poised and at ease around folks hard to please, dependable, sensible, but most of all, indispensable are our nurses in the community of East Providence. And with that, I'd like to recognize one of our school nurses, Courtney Bricolt. We have Mary Fazioli at Silver Spring School Nurse. We have Catherine McKean, who is one of our high school nurses.
If you are here, please come forward. We know some are probably still working.
Or doing other. So interestingly enough, nurses have multiple jobs. So I know a lot of people think, oh, nurses make a lot of money. Well, they wouldn't hold 2 to 3 jobs if they did. Not only that, we do love the profession, and because nursing has such a wide scope of healthcare settings and different things, we do, at least for myself, enjoy doing different roles in nursing to meet different community needs. At White Neck Elementary School, we have Whitney DeSaris. At Martin Pre-K, we have Tina Santos. At Orlo Avenue, we have Suzanne Aboud. Riverside Middle School, we have Dawn Houle. At Martin Middle School, we have Caroline Brennan. East Providence High School, we have Amanda Shattuck. Kent Heights School Nurse is Tracy Bradley. Tennessee School Nurse is Jennifer McKeenan. Martin J. Francis School Nurse is Alexandra Dottie. Our Senior Center Healthy Aging Nurse Coordinator is Shahini Lager. Our Waddington School Nurse is Elise Carr, and she is present. If you want to just stand up here, Ms. Carr, we can take a picture together when we're done. And then last but certainly not least, Oldham's Pre-K nurse, Heather Rocha, who I've had the opportunity of working with professionally.
We have one more presentation, if the deputy clerk would make it at this time.
Have had the pleasure of working with you and for you, and we want to thank you for your hard work too.
while they're taking the picture, I would add my congratulations and say, any of you who know how a school functions, there are three people in the hierarchy of things that make things work. The first most important person in the school is the school nurse. The second is the school office secretary. Any of you who've been in a school, and then the principal, of course. Thank you very much.
So the rest of these will be sent out to the school nurses at their schools. And with unanimous consent, I'd like to move up the resolution that I've prepared also in honor of Nurses Month.
Without objection, we will have that up in our packet. Is there a motion to?
Motion to accept and approve.
Motion by Councilman Rego, seconded by Councilman Fogarty, also Councilman Lawson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you. So this resolution, I'm going to read off, recognizes National Nurses Month. So whereas this year National Nurses Week, which is celebrated between May 6th and May 12th, according to the American Nurses Association, the theme is You Make a Difference. This week is just a part of a larger National Nurses Month, which celebrates the entire month from May 1st to May 31st. And whereas scientific advancements in the recent years have demonstrated the expanded role of our nurses and healthcare system and their knowledge and skills that have increased to keep pace with the new technology and methods of treatment. And whereas at the very core of nursing, caring for patients at the bedsides remains unchanged. The nurses bring a special compassion and concern for their patients, their families, and whereas nurses play a vital role in educating people in how to avoid illnesses, maintain diseases, and promote good health. And whereas nurses are essential to every healthcare setting, including hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, ambulatory settings, patient homes, and schools, I do hereby resolve that the City of East Providence City Council recognizes that the May as National Nurses Month in the City of East Providence and urges citizens to observe this month by recognizing nurses in this country who deserve your gratitude for the professional and personal contribution to the important health care of American citizens.
Thank you very much. And once again, congratulations. Those nurses who are here, please do not feel obligated to stay. We know school comes early in the morning. Unless you want to stay till midnight, you're welcome. But we will not mind if you leave whenever you're ready. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Council President, I move to approve the resolution as read.
We approved it for you. Yep.
And I just want to
Yeah.
add, with the difficulties that have come with the pandemic throughout the last few years, it has been really difficult for a lot of people in healthcare, in nurses and families, and a lot of times, though at the bedside and with our patients and children, we give them everything we have. Sometimes when we get home, there is a lot that is difficult to provide your family with. Sometimes there's nothing left at the end of the day when you get home. And so, if you're a family member of a nurse or somebody in the nursing field or healthcare field, just know that, your family, your loved one loves you and they do everything they can on a day in, day out, not only to support the home and you, but, there's a lot of people who need a lot. And no matter how hard you try and as much self-love that you give yourself, which is really important to take care of yourself as an individual, it is a very tasking profession. And we do it because we love it. And we love to care for people and we love to provide them with education and support and be there when nobody else is there for them because they may not have anybody. So I'm very honored to be in my role, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And I'm very honored to work along nursing assistants, LPNs, nurse practitioners, nurse assists in all their roles, because everybody's vital. And I really appreciate everything that all the nurses in our community do, regardless where they work.
Very much.
Thank you. Well said. This time we will revert back to the agenda on page 2 for licenses. And I would, before I ask for a motion to bundle, to do all of them together, and then another motion to approve, if the deputy clerk could just read the headings of all of them so those present, or maybe anyone watching the meeting, will know what licenses are on the agenda tonight.
Yes, sir. First, there's a block party, NTRA. This is on the terrace. There is a function on September 9th from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's a one-day entertainment license for the same event. One-day entertainment license for Harrison Ingham on 59 Bright Ridge Avenue at Holy Ghost Brotherhood. The date of the functions are October 1, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 20, 21, 22, 27, 28, and 29. It'll be from 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's going to be a haunted trail walk. We have a peddler's license for Pelagi's 2000 Inc. They are located in Pawtucket. We have a mobile food establishment license for Adam Pelagi Brothers Ice Cream, and that one is in Pawtucket on Delta Drive. We have an application for solicitor. This is for Trinity Solar, and it's Marcus Rocha. Another application to solicit, renewal by Anderson Zachary Grassi. Another application for a license to solicit, renewal by Anderson for Janella Torres. Holiday sales, Mr. Zhang at Zong Leon LLC at 275 Bullocks Point Avenue. And a victualling license for the same business.
Motion to accept the bundle.
Okay, one second. Just so, this is not a public hearing, so that's why there is no public discussion. And Councilman Rigo moves to bundle items C1 to C10. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. Any opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Fogarty to approve those licenses C1 to C10. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Back to page 5, public hearings. Deputy Clerk.
There are no public hearings. No one signed up for communications. We do have one public comment. It's, he's handing it down.
Signing up for public comment tonight from East Providence, Mr. Greg Dias. Could you please just give your name and address for the record and your topic? Mike.
My name is Gregory Dias. I live at 57 Tryon Avenue in East Providence. Excuse me, although I'm an attorney, I'm here just as a resident of the city. And I'm here to discuss the flock cameras.
Okay, please proceed.
Council President Rodrick, members of the council, I'm here to discuss the flock cameras, and I know that you've already voted 5-0 to approve a resolution to allow the mayor to go forward with the flock cameras. However, unfortunately, I was out of state at your last meeting, was unable to be here. I believe that it's a very important issue. I wish I had been here to discuss it with the council. And I understand that there are many cities and towns who presently are allowing these cameras. People in East Providence are very familiar with cameras now. So we have our speeding cameras in front of schools. Now, what's important there is those cameras were approved by state statute, regulate the time, and they only allow pictures of vehicles that are speeding in front of those schools. We have cameras, red light cameras. We know they have those, and apparently there's going to be more of those in East Providence. Again, those are given authority by state statute. State legislature has passed legislation regarding them. And again, those only photos are taken of vehicles who are breaking the law, breaking a resolution or a violation of going through a red light. This council unfortunately has now allowed for flock cameras. Those cameras take a picture of every single vehicle passing in front of the camera 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Now, we know the speeding cameras, you have to be speeding for your car to be photographed. For the red light cameras, you have to go through a red light to get your car photographed. With the flock cameras, every single vehicle is photographed. In my opinion, that is unreasonable and unacceptable. And more importantly, there is no regulation for that. Yes, the city of East Providence has a policy drafted by the police department. I know the council might have been involved with that, but that should be a hearing at our state legislature. All Rhode Islanders should have an opportunity to say whether they think this is an invasion of their privacy, as I do. They all should be involved in coming up with regulations. Now, I've read your policy, our policy, the city's policy, and that says if someone violates that policy, their sanction might be what's in the collective bargaining agreement. Well, to me, that is insufficient. If someone breaks that policy, it should be a violation of law. The person should have sanctions, criminal sanctions, in my opinion, and someone should be able to sue if their rights are violated. But with the policy that's in effect in the city of East Providence, unless there's other state law out there, that's not going to happen because all you have is a policy. And there could be 39 different policies in this state. Every city and town could have a separate policy. There should be one policy, as there is with the speeding legislation and with the red light legislation. We should not have these flock cameras taking a picture of every single car, every single day. They say that they're going to hold it for 30 days and that's going to go away. I don't know if anyone else believes that. I don't. I think we need state regulation to ensure that these companies that are flock company is doing what they say they're doing. And if they don't, there is some backing behind it other than just a city policy. I know I've already gone past my time. Thank you very much. And my suggestion to City Council, and I know I'm late, would be to rescind the policy, rescind the vote that you took. And if you decide not to do that, at least suspend the use of the flock cameras until there is state legislation. There is a bill right now pending in the legislature. No flock cameras should be used in the state until there is state regulation to ensure that our privacy rights are upheld. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dias. And I know I was going to say that we're waiting for this bill and we'll see what happens. Thank you. Before we resumed, is the council auditors here? Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. I'd like to move up to the agenda at this time, pulling from page 6, the item called audit report, so that the auditors don't have to stay, especially if we're paying them by the hour. We would ask at this time, without objection, if the gentleman would come forward and just identify yourself and for the record, and we just have a few questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, thank you very much for entertaining me today, if you will, or this evening. You're not paying me tonight. This is part of my contract to be here. So just wanted to make that clear. I'm going to go over the financial reporting results of the October 31, 2020 financial statements. I'll touch on just some brief financial highlights, as you're all fully aware of. The data in there is 19 months old, so it's pretty stale, rather irrelevant at this point in time, but nonetheless, I'll just give you some insights as to what's in there at a very high level. From the perspective of reporting results, probably the most important part of what we're doing is the audit financial statement opinion, which is page 1 of the bound document that I believe you all have received at this point in time. When we perform an audit in the state of Rhode Island, actually all governmental audits, they're performed actually under 2 sets of standards: generally accepted auditing standards and then generally accepted governmental auditing standards. Our primary opinion is under generally accepted auditing standards. So we've issued an unmodified or clean audit opinion on the financial statements, stating that, in our opinion, they fairly represent the financial position and results of operations of the city for the fiscal year ended 10/31/2020. Under governmental auditing standards, it's commonly referred to as Yellow Book. We're required to gain an understanding of the internal control system around financial reporting and report to you any control deficiencies, be they material weaknesses or significant deficiencies relevant to internal control over financial reporting, and then also report to you if we encountered or uncovered any violations of compliance requirements that we deem material to the financial statements. So relative to that report, there is a finding that we deem to be a significant deficiency. That's a follow-up finding, if you will, from the prior year, and it just simply has to do with the time lag that occurs related to the end of the fiscal year compared to when we're actually in to do audit, and then obviously the issuance of the financial statements. Relevant to compliance, there were no findings. We didn't come across anything that we deemed to be a compliance finding or a compliance matter that would be material to the financial statements. Under single audit, there were 3 federal single audit, which is the next set of standards that we report under. And that relates solely to the federal programs and the major federal programs that are selected for testing each fiscal year. There were 3 programs that were selected for testing during the 2020 fiscal year. 2 of them were COVID-19 related funding, federal funding, and then I think the third was educational funding, and actually was the nutrition cluster, the school nutrition cluster. Similar to governmental auditing standards, we are required to report to you any internal control matters relevant solely to the major federal program that we're testing and any compliance violations relative to those programs. There were no control findings relevant to the programs, and there were no compliance matters that we uncovered during the performance of our testing relevant to those compliance findings, relevant to those compliance matters. Again, this would be very brief. From a financial highlight perspective, both your general fund and your school unrestricted fund returned surpluses for the fiscal year ended 10/31/20. Budgetary wise in the general fund, it's a little convoluted because there's information in there relevant to school unrestricted transfers as well. But there was a surplus that was returned in there. It was rather insignificant. I believe you missed the mark on revenues, but you gathered all that back and some more in expenditures. So you obviously controlled that side well, given the shortfalls you probably were seeing in your revenue stream. So the most part, I believe it was property taxes and intergovernmental or departmental revenues that had the largest shortfalls. The only other really major thing in there was I think it was a high school construction project. It was a school construction project. You bonded about a little over $72 million on that project, and you had $72 million plus in expenditures on that project during the fiscal year. Everything else was rather synonymous with prior years. So at this point in time, as I said, 19 months later, I'll answer any questions you might have relevant to the financial statements, but there's no need to go into any more, I don't think.
No, thank you for the clear summary. Before I open it up for questions, I just have a couple. And basically, the council just wanted to invite you here to clear up a couple of things. Sometimes when things are reported in the press, it creates confusion. So the first thing, though, I would say is, in your opinion, the city is in good financial standing, bond ratings, surplus. You did not see any alarming bells go off in your work?
No, I think your general fund surplus is about 9.2%. The current guidance that exists out there is to have something in between 7.5% and 15%. So you're within that slot. The pandemic did cause some uptick in that recommendation, but I think the rating agencies have begun to walk away from that. So yeah, I think as of 10/31/2020, things were fine. You had enough operating capacity.
And you're comfortable that you have a good relationship, you work closely with Director Moore and others. There's been a good communication between auditing firm and.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And my last concern or question is, could you address that letter we received from the Auditor General and speaking about our tardiness in reporting? I think Director Moore gave a good explanation to us. I understand, and, we're one of the only city in town with the fiscal year we have, but could you briefly interpret the letter that we received?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're saying, they have I think a requirement that you're issued by April 30th, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And it's been some time since the city was able to comply with that, but all of the information necessary in order to comply with that is not solely under your control. The pension information comes from the state itself. And I won't say they haven't been timely with that information, but there have been certain years where it lags. I'm sure that's dependent on their actuaries and how quickly they're turning around the information. But the city here right now, given them the reporting that you want to do with the most current pension information available, is kind of hamstrung by the state because we can't issue until that information is available to us. I do believe there is an opportunity to close the gap relative to the overall audit process if you could come about an analysis and a game plan as to how to close at the end of the fiscal year and be ready for the auditors a little bit earlier. If you went through the process of identifying all of the information that needs to be accumulated, all the tasks that have to be completed, what is going to be the time requirement in order to complete all of those? Are some independent or dependent on other tasks along the timeline? And then once you kind of have your arms around all of that, the big question is you got to step back and say, okay, what are the resources we have available to us to allocate to this? Because Malcolm has a 40-hour-a-week job, as does everybody else in his office. Same over at the school department. So if these are annual tasks plus, then do you have the resources to do all of that in a timely manner? I would hope that you do. And that analysis had never been performed, so I'm not certain. It would be interesting to see. But if you could close that time gap where maybe we could be in here in February, then all we would be waiting on is pension. And we at CLA, we can turn that around pretty quickly. We can actually submit the entire engagement to our technical review, to our national reviewers, without the pension and even the OPEB information, get all that cleared, clear any comments that we might have relevant to that, and then just resubmit it with just the pension and OPEB information. And that's a real quick turnaround.
Okay, thank you. Other members, let's start with Councilman Rigo.
Thank you for your time. Excuse me. I just want to bring up what you just said. could you possibly give us that timeline that you need so that we get this audit in a timely fashion? Because right now, obviously, we finished fiscal year 2022 on October 31st.
Right.
And I don't know where you are in the process, but if you could put that game plan together that, you know, from step 1 to step 2, so we're not waiting almost, 2 years later, get it, so that we get it as a council and that the city uses it as the blueprint so that we get an audit that makes sense for us to look at when we're going into the next fiscal year. Because the one you gave me, you people did a great job, but we're going to be doing the 24 budget and it means nothing.
I understand. Yeah. We can certainly provide you with the time frame as to when we can commit resources. Dave and I talked about it. I forgot I never introduced myself, but I'm Ron Nossick. This is Dave Hansen. I'm the engagement partner and Dave is the manager. But, we talked about it today and we felt like late January, early February would be ideal. That does give you, I believe, ample time if there is a strategy in order to close in that time frame. But I would look to Malcolm and the folks here in the city to really make the final commitment on that. I mean, I can, if I was a coach, I can tell a kid how fast I want to see him run down the field. But if he can't run down the field that fast, it doesn't matter what I want,
Anyone else?
I got a question.
Councilman Lawson.
So our charter says within 90 days of the close of a fiscal year, so that'd be January-ish, the audit should be coming to the council. Within 6 months, it should be available for the public. Is that a realistic timeline?
90 days to have something in front of you in today's day and age, I don't think is realistic.
Okay.
There's too much information in governmental financial statements anymore, and there's too much data in the course of the fiscal year to accumulate and boil it down to financial statement presentation that I think no matter who you are, that's a real tight fit. Yeah.
We have a charter review commission, and this is something we definitely should bring to them. What is a realistic timeline for us to get an audit from the administration?
So 6 months is certainly a realistic time frame to be issued, right?
Okay.
I would say back that up 45 days, maybe 60 days at most to say we would like to see a full draft at that point in time of the financial statements. And when you say, when you're putting that down in writing, if you will, when you're requesting that from the auditors, I think we and any audit firm that you would ever have in here, the expectation on our side is what I'm giving you, I don't expect any changes to. That doesn't mean there might not be, but I don't expect any.
Okay. So we start our budget, July, August, we start? So is it realistic to say that we could have the audit from the year prior around June-ish?
There's where we get tripped up by the state. I think, Dave, correct me, it's usually mid to late June before they actually issue the pension information, and sometimes they may have trickled into July. So we're unable at that point in time to issue financial statements until we have that information.
So we're always going to not have the audit from the year prior as we're trying to budget for the,
Yeah,
and that's
I think-
because we're not in sync with the state.
correct.
Okay.
I don't, please don't think I'm putting myself in your seat, because I'm not. I don't know all of the intricacies and I don't have the institutional knowledge you have. But I think what's in the financial statements vacant, the pension and OPEB information, is enough relevant information for you to go about the budget process, to be quite honest with you. Maybe the only outlier is the pension contribution or something, which I know is no small piece of cake, but that might be the only outliers that are hanging.
So minus those two things from the state, it is realistic that by
Sure.
June? Okay.
Yeah, you'll have a budgetary statement at that point in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you're telling us this data is already out of sync, and
Right.
We're not going to have 2022 for a while, so.
Right.
But it is realistic that we can get on track, that we would have the financial statement, not the full audit, by June.
I think that is a somewhat of you'd have, depending on the state,
Yep.
right? If the state suddenly starts delivering that information in May, then I think June 30 is a viable timeframe.
Okay.
But if they're still late June, early July with it, then we're going to be a little bit hamstrung. But I think we're talking the same thing
Yeah.
here. But 2022, the horse has already left that barn. I mean, we're going to do everything we can to be way, to deal with it in a way more timely manner
Okay.
than 2021. But we're already past the dates we're talking about at this point in time, to be quite honest. We haven't started any field work for 2022 as of yet, or we might have done preliminary work and that's it.
Okay.
How much of the information can you give us by the time we start looking at this budget around for 2024, say in June and July? How much information can you give us so that we have a little bit of a ballpark as to where we are?
Well, you'll have, I would think, if we're in and along those timeframes, you'll have the full budgetary statement, which is RSI 1 and the school is RSI 2 in the financial statements right now. If we're set with that, then Malcolm can probably give you a line item report, because ours consolidates a little bit, but can give you line by line as to what that budgetary statement is. And quite honestly, you're probably much earlier than that relative to when you're stamping it done and providing it to us. So,
That would be great. Thank you for your.
Sure.
Anyone else on the
Yeah,
council?
Mike, are you part of the Charter Commission, or is that Dylan?
We both.
Right. Because maybe we can get some guidance from you guys how to word this so we're not violating, like the 90 days could probably go and just reword this. So, because we've been in violation, how many?
I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Malcolm, did you want to add anything? Is there something any of us have missed, or Keith comment or anything you want to make?
No, not really. I think Mark did a very good job explaining it. And as he said, the issue we're having is to finalize the audit is getting the piece of information from the state. This year, they were hoping to get it into maybe the June, early July timeframe, which is usually months earlier than when they did. But we should be able to give you information. I think that we're supposed to have the budget to the council by, I want to say, August 23rd. And that's when it's supposed to be presented to you. So I would think that by that time, we should be able to give you or before then, a budget to actual where we stood for last year.
Thank you. There are no other comments from the council. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming tonight and helping clear this up. We appreciate it.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I believe we will, Madam Deputy Clerk, I believe we will resume the agenda back on page 5, maybe under comments.
Yes, sir. Next item, appointments. Charter Commission Council appointment, David Luiz, and it's Council President Rodrick and Councilman Fogarty.
I'm sorry, I had a sidebar and I didn't. Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, sir. Appointments, Charter Commission Council appointment, David Luiz,
Oh, okay.
Council President Rodrick and Councilman Fogarty.
So moved. I'd like to make that motion to approve, David.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made. Before that, let me explain, we have a vacancy because Councilman Fogarty's earlier appointment no longer able to stay on the commission. And Mr. Solicitor, you have the letter of resignation or?
It was submitted, yes.
It was, okay, so the motion is Councilman Fogarty makes the motion, Councilwoman Souza, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, unanimous. Thank you, Councilman. Next item.
Next item, back to council members. City Council Veterans Advisory Commission, discussion only, Councilman Lawson.
So this is, we also have a resolution. This is basically just bringing back previously existing Veterans Committee that advises the council. In the past, when I was on it, we did things like town halls for veterans where we had Kasimyan come down. We were able to get some veterans into the healthcare system for the VA. The mission was to honor and inform veterans. So this is just bringing back something that existed before. The resolution's straightforward, 5 veterans, we each get 1 pick, and they're just strictly advisory.
To save time, without objection, I would move up the resolution that you are sponsoring. Everyone should have a copy of it. It is a resolution establishing the City of East Providence Veterans Advisory Committee. Councilman Lawson, do you want to summarize any of it? I don't think we need to read it all.
No, basically, it's
Pretty much
going to be as
did.
simple as we each pick 1 veteran. They're going to be our advisors. And they serve at our pleasure. So if anybody's not showing up or whatever,
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second that motion.
Seconded by Councilman Rigo and also Councilwoman Souza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you, Councilman. Next item, Deputy.
Next item, update on Memorial Day Parade and request to put flags up along the parade route. Discussion only. Councilman Lawson.
So I want to thank the administration. A lot of us got a little bit verklempt when we saw the flags weren't going up. They meant a lot to us, and I want to thank the administration for putting them up so that way we can continue that tradition. And we'll have a conversation well before next Memorial Day about how to honor that parade route. So update on the parade. For those who are attending, if you're a youth organization or any kind of organization in the city that would like to join us, Chrissy Rossi is organizing the lineup, so you can give her a call, and she did give me permission to give out the number, 401-481-1721. Again, if you're any youth organization, any kind of group that would like to join in the Little Leagues March and stuff, we're going to meet at the former Oldham School at 9 a.m. and then the parade will step off at 10 a.m. They're putting rain or shine, but obviously if it's a heavy downpour. Any veterans can contact me at ward4council@eastprovidenceri.gov. If you have any special requests, like if you have ambulatory issues, we do have vehicles that veterans can ride in as opposed to having to walk the whole route. It's a great event. I look forward to seeing everybody there, and including my fellow council members. And that is the update.
Thank you. Next item. Leave
Next
number
item.
4.
Yep. Total number of property assessment appeals to Northeast revaluation to include number of successful appeals and total dollar amount for the adjusted appeals. Discussion only. Council Vice President Rigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see, Malcolm, you're working double time here. You're filling in as the assessor tonight as well, so I thank you for doing that. So I just wanted a generalization as far as like how many people appealed, how many taxpayers appealed their assessment, and what the total dollar figure that was reduced.
I've got all that information. We have 14,474 parcels for residential. Of that, there were 429 appeals, which was just about 3%. And of that 429, 301 changes were made. 2/3 of the time there was a change made, 1/3 there wasn't. I took the total amount, the levy for residential was about 62 million. Take that and divide it by the number of parcels, it comes to about 4,300 per person or per parcel. The average reduction of those 301 that were changed, their bill was reduced $236. And then there were some other appeals for commercial. We only have 1,462 commercial properties. Of that, there were 69 appeals. Of that, sort of the opposite, there were changes in 27 and there were not changes in 42. And the average commercial bill was 22,000. So in total, there was 498 appeals, 328, there were changes made, and 170, there weren't. And as an aside, I think just to give you how the assessment went and the revalve is the single-family home the average single-family home went from 232,000 to about 350,000. So when I took the average single-family homeowner, 350,000 minus the homestead, the tax bill is about just under 4,500 per year.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you. Could I piggyback on you, Councilman Rigo? Could I ask, to save time, and what the topic is right, Director Gonzalez, you have a letter you would read later on. You prepared? Could you do that now? I do have a copy here if you don't have yours handy. If you could address the tax rate. We'll go back to you later for the other stuff, but I think this would be pertinent. Yes, Mr.
one more quick follow-up
Sure.
on Councilman Rigo. He had asked, so the total dollar amount for residential was $71,178, and the reduction of commercial was $119,437. So a total reduction of $190,615.
Thank you. Director, if you would like to proceed.
Okay, so this letter is to the council members and the members, Council President Rodrick. It's from the mayor. I'm writing to inform you that the property tax rate for the upcoming year has been finalized after a thorough statistical reevaluation. This state mandated revaluation is designed to ensure fairness and accuracy in tax assessments. And we are confident that the new assessments that we are implementing are fair and equitable to all taxpayers citywide. Property values can change over time due to a variety of factors, such as changes in market conditions, new developments in the area, or changes in zoning classifications. Because of these factors, it's necessary, and state law requires municipalities to periodically revalue properties and to adjust property values and tax rates accordingly. The statistical revaluation process involves analyzing data on property sales and other relevant factors to determine the current market value of properties. This information is then used to calculate the new tax rate. This process can be complete, complex, and time-consuming, but we believe that it is necessary to ensure fairness and accuracy in tax assessments. As you know, my administration, together with the City Council, worked with State Representatives Catherine Kazarian, Matt Dawson, Brianna Henrys, and Jennifer Boylan, as well as State Senators Valerie Lawson, Robert Brito, and Pam Lauria, to introduce and seek passage of legislation that would enable the City of East Providence to adjust and equalize our residential and commercial tax rates after a revaluation to ensure fairness and equity for all East Providence taxpayers. With this collaboration, we were able to get House Bill H5605 and Senate Bill S240 passed in time for our 2023 tax roll. The East Providence Assessor's Office and the Northeast Revaluation have finished the final stage of the revaluation. Property value assessments are now finalized with an assessment date of December 31st, 2022 to be implemented with the 2023 tax roll. Tax bills are slated to be mailed at the end of May and are scheduled to reach property owners' mailboxes during the first week of June. And do you want me to read the chart as well, Council President, or?
Yes, please.
The chart below shows the 2022 tax rates and what the new tax rate will be per $1,000 for the 2023 tax roll. With these rates, the average residential taxpayer will see a slight annual increase of approximately $130 in their property tax bill. So property tax for residential, the 2022 tax rate was $21.86. The new proposed 2023 tax rate will be $14.76, which is a net minus 32% decrease. Commercial, which the 2022 tax rate was $26.89. The new proposed tax rate will be $23.03. Proposed, the net change will be minus 14%. Tangible, his 2022 tax rate will be $56.33. The new proposed tax rate will be $56.81, which is a 1% increase. Over the last several months, the Assessor's Office, in conjunction with the Northeast Revaluation, have heard approximately 500 taxpayers' informal appeals to their assessments. Of those, 60% received a downward adjustment to their property tax assessment. Most of those adjustments were minor in value. The taxpayers still have the right to appeal through the statutory process as set forth in Rhode Island general laws 44-5-26 within 90 days of the first due date of the first quarter taxes. We believe the new assessments are accurate and the tax rate is fair in light of change in market conditions. If you have any questions or concerns about the revaluation process the new tax rate, please do not hesitate to contact our office, the mayor's office. Signed sincerely, the Honorable Roberto L. De Silva, Mayor.
Thank you for reading that a little bit early. And for those who may not have picked it up, there still is a window of time for appeals. Questions, comments, council,
Well, first of all,
Councilman Rigo?
I want to thank our state delegation as the chief of staff noted. Also want to thank the administration and the five of us here. The former government is the reason why this thing really happened. We corrected a wrong by people that had that had interest not for the residents of the city. If they didn't come to us, the administration, and we had a strong delegation, the taxpayers of this city would have been on the hook for a lot more money. So I just want to thank the four of you that sit with me, the administration, and that delegation, because we got it done. And this is another example of repairing bad policies of a manager council form of government. This would never have happened if we were still sitting with a manager council form of government.
I'd just like to thank the tax assessor, Sarah Frew, and her office as well. They did a tremendous job.
You don't
She
want
should
to
be
come
applauded.
tonight. And, we're going to give her a compliment, and she ran away. But
We brought Malcolm instead.
yeah, he's getting her time.
That's a
Thank
fair
you.
trade.
Well
Thank you,
said,
Sarah.
Hey,
Councilman.
Mike.
Councilman Lawson?
The tangible tax exemption, is that looking like it's going to pass in General Assembly?
I believe some form of it will, but I'm not so sure.
Okay.
It'll be a complete exemption. As you know, East Providence has a $10,000 exemption already on the tangible tax.
What they
The first
talking, 50?
10,000.
They talking 50 on the state level exemption?
I don't really know what they're talking. I know they're talking about 100%, but I don't think because the revenues are down 60 million, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. But I'm not up there anymore, so I can't really say.
But that's something we have to keep an eye on because we may lose the tangible taxes.
Yeah, we would be for this, excuse me, for this, if any type of, as the legislation is written now, if they were to pass that, we would be made whole for this year.
Right.
But next year would be a different ballgame.
Through the chair.
Councilman?
Speaking on the evals, those constituents that did go and have spoken to me after going, received their letters, everyone that went had said it was a very good experience, well taken care of, well explained, and all of them have reduced the rate of what they were assessed. So I would strongly suggest if you didn't go to go. If you have any questions, it's a very good process, and thank you very much to the staff.
Can I don't want to have increased expectations. So that period is now over. There was just informal, but they still have a statutory appeal period, more formalized. It would start with the tax assessor 90 days after their first tax day. So they've got to start that process. But so if they still
an
dissatisfied,
appeal.
I would start July 1.
correct. Well, whenever the first tax bill goes out, within 90 days, yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Deputy, if we could resort back to the regular order. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Number 5, water sewer bills to ratepayers by the 10th of each month. Discussion only. Council Vice President Rigo.
Thank you again, Malcolm, for coming. After we passed the sewer increase, I had a lot of phone calls from people saying they weren't receiving their bill in a timely fashion. A lot of them were getting concerned, especially they were thinking they were going to have a large increase. This time they did come out on, most of my constituents got theirs on Saturday this past Saturday, the 13th. Is it possible that we stay in that window? Again, because people are budgeting, people, are concerned about, the cost of living and everything. Because the last couple of months they were coming out they were due on the first of the month and they were coming out like 22, 20, 22nd, 23rd, 24th of the month. Can we have a consistency?
We could probably get it down a little bit. The issue you have is that we have a 7 calendar day grace period. So if that happens to fall on a Friday and you've got 8, 9, so it's the 10th before we've done anything. So on the 10th, you've got to put the interest on. And then once you do that, they've got to run the bills. They've got to send it to the printer, which is going to take 3 or 4 days. And then it's going to take another couple of days to be mailed. So the only way to meet the 10th deadline really would be to do away with the grace period.
So what's the realistic time? I mean, because the bills again on the first, people are telling me they're getting their bills on the 24th, anywhere from the 22nd to the 24th. I've heard the longest, and then the bills are due basically 7 days later. People who live on a fixed income or get pays bi-weekly, it's a little challenging. And then so if they're late, then they're in that cycle of the grace period all over again. They're going to be late again. They're late. So they never get out of that cycle of being late and getting that,
Well, it's challenging, like I said.
late fee put on them. I'm just looking out for my.
But you don't want to eliminate the grace.
No, I don't want to,
And I agree it's challenging, but it is expected, right? We know we have
Oh, yeah.
put aside that payment. So I would rather just know that it's coming than do away with the grace period if that fixes
I
it.
think after this bill, when there wasn't the greatest shock, I think I was getting those calls before, that people were really concerned about knowing that there was an increase in May. I think people were preparing for the worst, and I think I think most of them were surprised.
So let's see how it goes
Yeah.
this next, and if it's still a big problem, we'll,
Malcolm, how does the interest work? So if they're, what'd you say, 7 days late,
7 days late.
what do we hit them with?
It's 12%. So it's 1% per month. So then on that 8th day, everybody gets hit with that 1%. And
So that 12% is
For the
over the
year.
course of 12 months.
Right. And so then on that first day, you put the 1% on. So whether you pay on the 8th day or the 28th day, the interest is the same. Because they kept saying, why don't you do it daily? Well, then you would tell people, the flip side of this, oh, well, you owe this amount of interest. Well, they come in the next day, then there's more interest. Or they come in 2 days later. So that's where most places put it on at the first of the month, and it's good for 30 days. So they
And-
know that that's,
Is that done by ordinance? It's the budget process you mentioned, right?
the 12% is done during the budget process.
Okay.
On the interest, I don't know about,
The interest on the tax bills are done through the budget process, the property tax bills.
Okay.
I believe the water bill is a separate ordinance.
I think you may be right on that.
The tax bills, do we do 12% yearly or is it 12% if you're late that month?
It's, no, it's 1% per month.
It's different. If you miss the first quarter, the whole amount.
Yes.
And that's a big chunk.
And there are some changes that can be made. But let's just say we collect $1 million in interest every year. So if you're going to reduce the interest rate or you're going to change it a little bit, well, that means that's got to be made up somewhere else. But so. I
But we
believe
don't
you
want it
said-
to be onerous on people to pay a bill if they fall behind for whatever reason.
And I think
Okay.
that you could, like as the solicitor said, if the first quarter is late, then the whole tax bill becomes due. So you could change that and say, well, only the quarter is due.
Okay.
So there are some things we could talk.
And is interest the only penalty for being late?
Correct.
Okay. So we don't have like a fixed amount that we charge if they're late? Okay. Okay, thank you.
thank you, Councilman Rego. Next item.
Next item, update on East Providence Police Department roof bid and start date, discussion only. Council Vice President Rigo.
I would ask Councilman, do you,
Move on that because of the fact that
we want to move this now or wait later?
we can move it, we can vote on the,
Why don't we, to save time, this will answer the same questions. We have an ordinance, resolution on the police roof. I think that the issue has pretty much been solved. We're asking the council to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract for the police department roof replacement. And I'll summarize that whereas on April 11th, 2023, 3 contractors submitted bids for the police department roof replacement. We remember we had to do this a couple of times. There was some language that had to be fixed the first time. A couple of numbers, digits were off. Anyway, the lowest bid was provided by Patrick J. McKenna Roofing in the amount of $305,800. And we did get all the bid information in our packet. the council approved an ordinance to allocate that amount of the remaining unencumbered and unallocated capital budget funds to the police department for the replacement of the police department roof. So this is a replacement of the entire roof. There is a remaining balance of $188,424.07 residual funds from a previously approved capital projects. And so the point is, we're ready, unless things have changed. I believe that this company was an East Providence-based company at one point. So what I'm asking for now, and thank you, Councilman Rigo, Councilman Lawson, bringing this to our attention earlier, that I'm asking now for a motion that therefore be it resolved that the city authorize the mayor to enter into this contract between Patrick J. McKenna Roofing, Inc. and the city, East Providence, for the police department roof replacement for the amounts that I've described.
I got a couple questions.
Yes.
So 305,000, that was allocated in last year's budget towards this roof?
Not,
So where's that 305 coming from? What was unencumbered? What didn't we build?
Every year, there is a partial, Council President, it's okay that I
yes,
answer. I'm
please.
sorry. Every year, there's a portion of the capital fund that we propose, A through M, and the council usually does get through some of that. And then from N to Z, they leave unallocated. So that 308, 305 is coming from the unallocated capital from the previous fiscal, from the current fiscal year.
Right, but that was attached to a project.
No, I'm just saying that it was unattached. That's why it's unallocated.
So we budgeted money that we weren't going to put towards a project?
Correct. Every year, we have a capital fund that.
Capital.
Right. Every year we have a capital proposals from the administration.
Yep.
Sometimes the councils approve some of those and some of them they don't, and it remains a chunk remains unallocated. So that's the unallocated portion.
And that has to stay in capital, that
Correct.
unallocated?
Yep.
Okay. And out of the 188, why didn't we buy the stump grinder? There was like 50,000 that we didn't spend for a stump grinder. I'm trying to find the page.
Yeah,
of it.
those are residuals from that. I don't know. I don't know if it was not purchased or.
So we authorized to purchase a stump grinder and just decided not to? For a reason. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
There was an original budget of $50,000 and there's a balance of 50,000. So I don't know if it was spent from got from another area or they decided they didn't need it. I don't know, but that was from 2022.
Okay. And I'm all in on getting the roof done. I just want to
I'm
make
not
sure the
familiar with
money's.
this, why we didn't go through with the purchase for the stump grinder, but I can find the information for you and have Director Borges email it to you.
If we need it, cool. If we didn't, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for questions.
Motion to move to accept the contract for the new roof or the repair the roof of the East Providence Police Station.
Motion by Councilman Rigo to approve, seconded by Councilman Fogarty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Want to do
Thank
the
you.
resolution now too? To authorize?
That was the resolution for the roof.
That was the ordinance. Now there's a resolution giving them permission to enter into the contract, correct?
You just did the resolution
This is the resolution.
authorizing the mayor to enter the contract, but you do need to do the appropriation of the
Oh, okay.
ordinance. Yeah, we haven't done the ordinance yet.
Oh, okay. I'm
So
sorry.
13,
No, it's all right. We piggybacked on Councilman.
kind of combined the two, but we talked about twice at the same time.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve there's no public hearing tonight, right? So this is just all right, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
It's a public
Is there-
hearing.
It is,
It
I'm
is
sorry.
public. Oh,
Yes.
So why don't we finish with council members? No, they're good questions. We're probably rushing you. Next is also Council Vice President
No,
Rigo, number 7 under council members. You would like to proceed?
okay, so we're going to do that, not the ordinance?
Right, we'll do that after.
Okay.
You got me confused now.
Yeah, I mean,
We just, yeah.
we just did the.
Okay.
Yeah, we just
Well,
did the
I didn't hear any, yes.
Whoa,
Like the ribbon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hang it all together.
Okay, so we'll open up the public hearing on the ordinance portion of the roof for the police department. Council comments first?
It needs to be done.
Motion.
That building needs it.
Well, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on the issue?
You gotta come up.
And it has to be on this issue.
There were three estimates. This is the lowest.
Correct.
What,
Lowest that met all specifications.
right. So the question is something like this. What makes it lower? Like, what are they not going to do that the others would? Like, is the lowest really the best for the police department? Lowest is not always best, even though it's from,
Correct.
if you only look at the money, it might be like, yeah, let's go that way. But like, what are the
Correct.
bigger differences between?
All specifications were met. All the police department that reviewed it, as well as any of our staff. So there was nothing that was removed that we want. We're not doing something. This happens all the time.
Right.
Some companies bid and don't even want a job.
I see.
They bid a high amount for whatever reason. This is a reputable company. It's on bid lists.
What were the different estimates?
I don't know if I have all that right now.
The RFP clearly states the scope of work that we want done.
I understand.
So the bid, it could be low or higher, but they still have to do what that RFP is asking. And that's done with the city staff. They say, all right, the roof needs this. So
Yes.
going cheaper doesn't mean something's being left out.
Well, here are the three companies. The low bid, as I mentioned, McKenna Roofing, and that was $305,800. The next bidder was Capeway Roofing Systems for $338,325. And the third was Greenwood Industries for $322,750. So vendors put in,
Not much difference anyway.
Not much difference.
Really.
So we always try to go with the low bidder. If one came in for $50,000, that might raise some flags. But your question is a good one, and I think we followed about as best as we could. Thank you. Good question. Anyone else have any comments in the public hearing process? One more time, anyone else? If not, I'll close the public hearing at this point.
I'll reintroduce my motion to
And
accept.
motion by Councilman Rego,
Second?
accept. Councilman Lawson to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you.
Next item, mutual aid rescue calls requested by the city for each month of 2023, January through April. Total to be broken down by each city and town that is sending rescues into the city. Discussion only. Vice President Rego.
Councilman.
Thank you. This is an ongoing situation that the city is seeing mutual aid coming into the city. Again, it affects my ward and my constituents talking to me all the time about the rescue situation. And to the point of now they're telling me that they're seeing rescues from Smithfield, Attleboro. It seems like they're getting farther and farther away. And as we talked about it, and unfortunately I've been there waiting with the parent for an out-of-town rescue. So I know what it's like when those constituents tells me the situation, and the great men and women that work for you are there. And they're trying to explain that captain and lieutenant and those two firefighters on that engine or two on a ladder truck are explaining to that person that we're waiting for that taxpayer per se, that they're waiting for an out-of-town rescue. Now your people end up becoming, not only are they administering, the proper first aid that they got to do, they're now becoming social workers because they're trying to calm the situation down. Because when you call, you expect to get the service. And it's doing a disservice. It's doing a disservice to me, to the I think to the taxpayers. It's also putting stress, and you see it. I saw it on the face of that captain that night. He apologized to my brother and myself 3 times, apologizing that they're waiting for the rescue, and he keeps on calling the dispatch. Where are they? So in that, and I know it affects burnout. Having firefighters in my family, not in this city, but in other cities, it puts a strain on them. It puts a strain. Taxpayers want the service. It puts a strain all along. This is I mean, I know it's going to cost money, but it's an issue. It's a mind issue. When you call that and your loved one is, no matter if it's a child or anything, and they're waiting there, and those 3 firefighters get there and they're doing their best, and they got to say, excuse me, but we got to wait for an out-of-town rescue. And they're like, why? And the taxpayer who pays pays everything, they expect it. But I see the frustration in your firefighters, the empathy that goes out. They're like, they can't do anything.
I understand that. But and I apologize. We do not have the data that you asked for, and we will have it next meeting.
Thank you.
And my firefighters are professional firefighters.
they're
And
great.
they
You
adapt
get-
and overcome on every run.
You get the best, but to sit there and see them and see other people, and I've had constituents tell me, again, they felt the same way I do, that we did that night that, we were sitting there with my dad and my brother and myself were there, and we knew the firefighters. Obviously, everybody knows my brother. Everybody knows me almost in the city, and they're apologizing. And again, my constituents are telling me firefighters are great, and your firefighters do not need to have to go into somebody's house to apologize, waiting for a rescue coming from Attleboro, Warwick, or Swansea. They don't deserve that.
And I
And
understand
that's what
that.
I'm getting to the point where we need this 4th rescue full-time, 24/7.
And myself and the administration, we're working on it.
Yeah, yes, thank you. And
We'll have the data for you
I'm
next
looking
meeting.
at it as I can imagine the burnout. I mean, I did talk to a couple of relatives because, we all got together this past weekend for a nice family situation. And they go, you don't know the stress that we go under when we have to walk into a house. And then to tell them, got to wait for a rescue from Smithfield.
No, we totally understand that. We have a great EAP
No,
program.
you guys are the best. And that's why I'm here. I should say the men and women.
So Councilman Rigo, you mainly just want the numbers. Does it matter if it's by city and town, or do you just want to know how many times we have to call for help because
Well,
our
I
3
mean-
rescues are tied up?
It just seems like we're going further and further out. It isn't just Pawtucket or Seekonk or Barrington or Providence coming in now. I mean,
How many communities do we have mutual aid with?
Excuse me?
How many communities do we have mutual aid with?
I can't tell you. We get it from everywhere.
yeah, Warwick. That's
okay.
the point. I mean,
We had Smithfield on last Sunday. There was a half marathon.
but people see. I mean,
If we actually knew that half marathon was going on, we would have planned a lot better.
Yeah,
So, and we're looking into that.
yeah. No, I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to help my constituents. Saves lives. It also, we can come up with the $1 million off the budget. I know it's going to cost a little money, but when you do the levy and you divide by 1,000 and everything, it's there, and it's people expect that. When they call the rescue, they expect it to be there. They're not waiting. And they're not expecting this for your firefighters to say, oh, we're waiting for an out-of-town rescue to come from Warwick or Cranston. And they go to me, why am I paying what am I getting for my taxes?
Understood, but rest assured, we're working on it.
Yeah, and this, again, I commend the men and women that are on those trucks because every report they've gotten is nothing but they act as ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
If I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Because it kind of has to do with this. So if a resident does receive mutual aid, and then a bill is sent, who do they direct that bill to?
Captain Puffin, and we take care of it right away.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you,
excuse
Councilman.
me, so at the June meeting, at the
Very next meeting, we'll be there.
June meeting, you'll have that.
Get us on the docket. We'll go over all the numbers.
So you'll be able to get it up, and so that one, you'll have it through the end of May, please, for me. For us, I should say.
Ooh. And you good with May?
Okay, thank you.
It's tedious work to get that information. Just,
Figure, figure you have nothing to do on your weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Next item.
Next item, Charter Review Commission, discussion only. Councilman Lawson.
All right, so I put this on, I got the agenda for the Charter Commission, so I emailed Mark some thoughts on it to give them some input. And then we had a conversation, and I thought it'd be a good idea. We are good at creating boards and commissions, and then we kind of leave them hanging. So if we could give them some guidance of, like, the charter doesn't need to be rewritten, you know? So Mark had mentioned, do they want us to vote on things as they come up? Do we want them to vet everything and then bring it together all at once? I think,
No, it's a good point. Can I just add one thing,
Absolutely.
though? And then glad to see Chairman Furtado is here, but I don't want to leave the comment with some people that, you know, we created them and did nothing. I did send correspondence to all of the Charter Commission members as soon as they were appointed. I followed it up with a few more
I
documents.
didn't mean you, but.
No, right. And I did attend their first meeting and help them organize, and they picked their chair and all. So I think, you know, we're moving along, but you raised the good points that now they need to know some specifics.
Correct, like nothing's going to go on the special ballot this year, or when
Right,
they
some
expected
time-
to do
some
their
timing,
stuff.
right. And it's important to say, we are not asking to have the wheel reinvented.
Right.
I mean, this was a process born from the last city council because of a few problems with, you know, good problems, or communication problems, whatever. No one had asked to have every single item changed.
Right.
You know, it might come to that, but, so anyway, the chairman, thank you for coming here. Do you have any requests or some general comments to help us along?
Well, thank you for having me. I reached out to Councilman Lawson and everyone here with the letters that we transmitted through the commission, and also we sent it to the administration. We were just asking for guidance, just because what made this commission different, besides the makeup, was that it was really founded based on issues that arose between that interaction between the executive and the legislative. And so we were waiting for some input between the executive and the legislative to tell us, hey, these are the issues that arise. And from the mayor's office, it was, you know, that there was an extra 4 years of experience here. Some members on the council have that as well, to say, okay, well, here are some issues with the budget. We had issues interpreting the language. So that way we know, okay, when we get to the budget, these are things to take into account, because there are ways, phrases that have been interpreted by the law department, and it's worked, but we could always clarify that language. We can make it easier. There are more substantive issues also that I know certain council members want to address, the administration wants to address, and members on the Charter Commission want to address as well. We had a new form of government, and most of our charter reflects that. Some of it does not. So those are things to be taken under consideration. So initially we had sent out those letters. We did get some responses. The certain things like meeting schedules kind of went back and forth. The last meeting that we had, I had put on our agenda a resolution, and It ended up getting tabled because my members didn't have time to read it. But it's essentially just asking for whatever we vote on, because we're going to go through the charter through section by section. And again, like you said, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. But when we make a suggestion, when we vote on a recommendation, we're going to transmit it to you as soon as we get it. And what we're just asking for is an up or down vote. And if you don't like it, send it back. Tell us why you don't like it. We'll take it up again. We'll say, the council didn't like the language that we put in for city clerk. Is there, an appetite in the body to reconsider, take up those recommendations? If there is, we can amend the language to reflect that, send it back to you, and then hopefully it passes that time. If it doesn't, we can repeat the process. If it doesn't, if you send it back, we could choose then not to take it up again. What we don't want to see is for the Charter Commission to put in time and effort, make proposed changes, send them to the council, and have it be that they're amended at the last second and to go on the ballot.
Why is that? Because we're the final arbiter of what is put on there.
You are, you're empowered by Article 13 of the state constitution.
Our
However,
charter too.
yes. And this charter commission derives its power by the city council.
Mhm.
However, I would argue, and I'm not alone in this, that the charter commission derives its legitimacy from the people, just like the city council does. We're majority elected. So unlike the last charter commission or the one before in the 90s, we have more of a mandate than.
How many votes did each member receive?
Well, not to brag, but I know I did get the highest percentage in the city.
Was that 10,000 votes? Was that 8,000 votes?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So you're, I will go down. Are you implying that you have more power on what goes on that ballot?
No, I'm not. I'm asking that the council simply take an up or down vote on the recommendations that we make and say yes or no. If you look at the.
So the last time around, that did happen, but they submitted 27 and then the council voted up and down what to put on.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's a conversation.
I guess thank you for your time, first of all. A couple of months ago, when you first started off, you all came in front of us and I gave my 2 cents that day. And I guess you really didn't pay attention to my 2 cents. So I'm going to repeat it now. You are similar to the Second Continental Congress back in the day when the First Continental Congress was passed. We are not.
He wasn't. born then.
Neither was I, thank God. I may look it, but anyways, we are the body. I'm not trying to say that we're power play here, but we're the ultimate ones. I'm not going to play volleyball with the Charter Commission. I don't want this. We don't want this. It gets voted down. You're going to bring it back here. We're not doing that. We are not doing that. You're going to bring us 45 amendments, 65 amendments, and they're going to be done that way, and we're going to work with it. We're not going to play volleyball here. So if you think you're going to do that to us, it's not happening with me, and I don't think it's going to happen with the 4 other people, but I can't speak for them. You do it the way we asked you to do it. Do not reinvent the wheel. Go back and read the Second Continental Congress.
But they do need guidance. So
at this point, I would ask that each council member, if we haven't had time to do it yet, send a list to Chairman Furtado of some things you want.
you guys received the agenda, correct? For the Charter Commission? Leah emails it to us.
I think, yeah, we get, yeah.
Yeah, so when you get the agenda, like.
You've had how many
Last
meetings?
time it was Article 2, so I had a couple of things like creating divisions. I
Right,
think that was
so
a
if we-
city
we
manager
start
thing,
with-
why it's
Start
still.
with that, or whatever each of us.
Well, that was their
wants.
last meeting, so the next meeting, when you see the agenda,
Send it to
I would suggest, I actually think one of us should be there. Jim Bryden was there the last time around. He was at every meeting, so he could answer questions.
Could I just comment quickly? I'm
Please.
sorry. I did attend the last meeting because Dylan was unable to attend. I think that, and the council can do it any way they want to. But my concern is if that we have 5 individual council people sending 5 individual recommendations, they might not have the support of the other 4 members. In other words, my recommendation would be to have a workshop amongst yourselves, pick out 3 or 4 things that you think need to be changed or tweaked or whatever, and then send those along, because that has the full support of the council to say, this is a thing as a body. If the charter gets, 10 things from Councilwoman Souza, 3 from you, we don't know what really has the support of the council. So that's just my recommendation, but you could do whatever you want.
We need a workshop before every one of them.
No, I think you could do that way, but I would think that 1 or 2 workshops to go through in my opinion, there's only a couple of things that really need to be clarified. The budget process is one of them that really affects the council. A couple of things that dealing with the charter that we need guidance and help on clarifying language, but I think a good start would be to have at least 1 or 2 workshops, look at the whole document, and then say, of these 10 items that we thought, we really want you to work on these, or we can propose language. I can tell you, it's a lot easier. The administration can do that because we just have 1 mayor, right? He can sit down and can say, these are the things that I'm concerned with.
I don't know, don't we have a second on each
So it makes-
Don't
it
give them a
makes
better
sense.
parking space, but anyway, but that's just my suggestion, but I'm not.
It's a great suggestion.
Right.
And again, Mark, it's my opinion, and I'm forceful, but we can't do this back. We can't do it back and forth.
So it makes sense if we are all saying on all sides, we're not going to reinvent the wheel where unnecessary. So we won't have that much to talk about. If we have, let's start with 1 workshop. I'll start polling and we'll come up with the date, and then we'll put together a workshop, and then we can send stuff to Chairman Furtado, and then you'll have something to work with. Does that sound reasonable? I mean, it's probably what we're going to do anyway, but does that sound workable for the commission?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're gonna, I
Yeah.
think it's a great idea what the solicitor said about a workshop. When we get together.
I'll individually, so as not to do it as a group, but I'll start polling members, and we'll pick a day when we can do just that, nothing else, have a workshop. And so start thinking from tomorrow on what you want to do with the charter. And so we'll do that as soon as possible, Mr. Chairman, and we'll send that along to you. In the meantime, your meeting schedule, have you set a standing date? Is it now once a month?
Yes, it's just as the council ordered. It is June 21st, once a month.
And I did ask the Charter Commission to do that I thought twice a week, once a week was a bit ambitious for you folks.
So, Council President, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why exactly do we have a charter commission? This is a charter amendment. We have 5 elected members to this commission. You have 2 representatives on this commission. Yes, you have the final say. And I find myself here today, and I'm very confused as to why you think we are the Historic Tree Preservation Commission. I worked in the city before. I've seen the day-to-day issues. I am asking you to treat the body with respect, and you are acting, I'm not even going to use those words. Just hear people out. I don't understand why you have to get up on a soapbox. You want to talk about an issue that needs to be addressed that you guys don't address, but the commission can look at. You had an issue with bids, right? RFPs. What's in the charter right now? We're not working with the charter, with the language. We have lowest price acceptable. That's in the charter, that's the language. What we practiced is lowest price technically acceptable. That's language that needs to be added to the charter. But you don't think about that. We think about that.
And that's what you're supposed to be doing.
That's your job. But your job isn't to take the city council from five people to 7 people. We need you, as I said.
Listen, when you created a charter,
Okay, hold up, one at a time.
created a charter commission,
I have the
you
floor.
created
Mark,
a charter.
one at a time.
have the
Hold on now. I have the floor right now.
not yet.
Let's hold on for a second. We can do both here. We will have our workshop, put together our ideas. And I think that I want to hear from the commission.
Of course.
So at your meetings, you said you members have ideas, that's fine. Put them together. If you can get those to us by our workshop time, I'll let you know when that is. Then we'll have your ideas, your thoughts. We'll be working on ours, and I want to listen to what the Charter Commission. I don't think Councilman Migo's saying that we don't want
We'll
to.
be back and forth for the next year.
Right, we're not going to.
You're missing my point. Put them all together, come there. We're not going to be back and forth. We're not going to be back and forth every month. Oh, I want to do this. We don't like that. It goes back to you. We still don't like it. Comes back to us. I'm not playing volleyball, and I respect you and everybody else on that commission. But that isn't. It's not going to be set up that way. Come with. If you look at any charter commission, if you look at when the state had their constitutional convention, it's all put together. It's put together one thing in the body. I don't know if Mike was at the State House at the last time, but the reps vote on it in a full package that way. And that's all I'm asking is we do it in formulation that way. We're not here to volley till we get to the final answer. That's all I'm saying. And that's the way charter commissions work. It should work. That's the way a constitutional convention in the state of Rhode Island's worked in the past. It's the way it is. I'm not going to be playing here. I'm not going to be getting phone calls from members of your board all the time. I'm just ending that.
So I think maybe I'm being simplistic, but we're kind of saying the same thing here. Your group has ideas. We want to meet and see what we think would make city government work better. The mayor and administration, they're going to do their thing, and they can forward ideas to us too for the workshop and directly to you. We get it all together and we have a discussion. And then when it comes to us, yes, we have the final say, just like the last couple of councils ago did. And we get the process done. And I don't see a major problem with that. So for your next meeting, can you start to pull, you already have some ideas, you said, from members. Just pull those together and email them to me, and I will set them on a workshop agenda.
Well,
Everything that you want to talk about, we will talk about.
Well, at this point, we're just going through the charter section by section.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
send it to you when we send it to you.
Yeah, go through it. And I mean, there's no mad rush here. We want to do it right, take our time. And so speaking for myself, and I'll go out on a limb and say, I think for all of us, we not only want to, we will listen to everything that the commission sends to us. And we will put it together with our ideas, the mayor and administration's ideas, and we'll get it done. All right?
And
Let's proceed.
and the last word I said at that first meeting when you people were all here, and you touched upon it, said about representing people. You represent all 48,000 people in the city. Same thing with all of us up here. We do not go in there representing a particular group of people. Remember, all 48,000. Don't know where you came, what organizations you might be involved with, anything like that. You come from 40, you represent the good of the 48,000 people of the city. That's the only way the city's going to move forward. That's why you're here. That's why there's a charter commission. That's why there was the first charter commission, because people were fed up with the manager's councilman form of government. We do not need to go backwards to be dictated. this city isn't going to be run anymore in the basement of a pub on Pawtucket Avenue, a restaurant in Riverside, or a restaurant on Warren Avenue. And that's what I want people to see, that you represent the total package of everybody here.
Okay, I'm going to move this forward. Unless you want to add something that we totally haven't touched on, let's go forward and make it work.
I look forward to your recommendations.
Okay,
I'll let
thank
my
you,
members
Jim.
know.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, next, please.
Next item, short-term rental ordinance review, discussion only. Council Vice President Rego.
Thank you again. A couple of us had this discussion, in the hallway after our last meeting, and walking by, and it's really come to the forefront in my ward. I've had constituents call that at 4:30 in the morning, the police were at an Airbnb, to keep the peace. There's a lot of situations going on where garbage is being, left around and everything. And I think Councilwoman Souza has some feelings on this, as well as Councilman Lawson.
I can't believe we don't license it.
Yeah.
The zoning office allows it?
Right, so.
Isn't that a business?
So so there's been an uptick recently with residents complaining of disturbances regarding Airbnbs that are potentially temporarily permitted or may not be. So when this ordinance was created, it was to address a need or a concern with some residents who wanted to have the ability to do this with their property. So the council did create, after multiple meetings and workshops, something that they thought that was a starting point. But with every starting point, with time, you find different things that come about that need to be then revisited and retweaked. And I think this is one of those moments. And in one of those instances, as Councilman Lawson just mentioned, is the enforcement and oversight. An Airbnb is a business. It is where somebody is renting for financial gain. And so in the city, all other businesses in the city are licensed through the licensing body, which is the council. So I think that provides additional oversight on this specific topic, and then we can address additional means of enforcement. So I've had multiple emails, in-person conversations, and phone calls where, like the ordinance mentions, you call to the police and they would come out, and maybe a violation would then be sent to a homeowner, and there would be something that would happen. And that hasn't been the case in this specific incident. Police have been called out to specific locations on a number of situations, and then it just continues. So that leads to one thinking that there's no enforcement being done, or something not being addressed, and maybe this person isn't even really a licensed or permitted Airbnb. They're just simply taking advantage of being able to rent their home or rooms in their home to others. So I would like to work with the council and the law department to revise this ordinance, to add some licensing language that would go through the same licensing process and renewal process that other businesses in the city have. I think it might even be something that has a little bit more teeth than the regular business, because it does have an air of potential greater nuisance than a regular business would, because it is in residential areas and it can get carried away. So I'd like to work, Mike, if we could set some time apart to go over some of my ideas. I would welcome the council either email Mike or the clerk with your suggestions, and then we'll go over it. And I think it would be a process. I'd want to discuss the things that we think are concerns. I would invite residents who currently host on their property, those who have had difficulties in areas that have had hosts, so that we could have, again, a more vibrant discussion about it and then put into some language, something that's going to protect the quality and also not affect the business that somebody is trying to have for their livelihood.
I'll let you talk. No, I want you, because you might answer the question before I ask it.
So for the new council members, I will say that this ordinance, I think, was passed, I can't remember the date, but it was 2020 when we first had difficulty. Yep, May 5th, 2020. Assistant Solicitor kindly actually drafted this ordinance, and I'm going to defer all questions through him. Here's the issue. We do not license them. We regulate them by a special use permit through the zoning code, because there's a dispute amongst cities and towns whether or not we have the ability to license them. If for every license that we have in the city, a dog license, a liquor license, a yard sale license, I can point to a state statute that gives us the authority to issue that license or permit it. There is no state statute that allows us to license short-term rentals right now. I will say that another client of mine, which is the town of Tiverton, is having the same problem that East Providence has. And we have a piece of legislation before the General Assembly that was heard 2 weeks ago that would allow, it's enabling legislation that would allow cities and towns to issue licenses in addition to regulate them by zoning. I'm hoping that might have some legs this year because there's a lot of problems, mostly seaside communities, but you have a lot of river here too. So a lot of people, so it is a problem. The licensing is not a great fix right now because I don't think we have the authority to issue a license, but having a license to be issued would certainly help. So I will give you the name of the bill, the number of the bill. It's a Senate bill and House bill that's statewide. I would encourage you to talk to your state General Assembly delegation to see if they can get that. But it's a huge problem, believe it or not, particularly in coastal communities, but even cities like East Providence. And we need that. 100%, we need that extra teeth that we don't have right now.
So Mike, I would just ask if you could, for the next council meeting, draft a resolution in support of
Sure.
that House bill. And then we should actively engage our delegation to support that. They have some time before it comes before the council to approve and then send. Is there a copy for both the Senate and the House?
There's a companion bills, yes. So we're a bunch of communities that are working on it now. As you can imagine, it's opposed by the Realtors Association, but it's supported by the Hospitality Association. So there's obviously interest there. But what East Providence is dealing with, you are not alone, and it's there's a lot of money in this, obviously, because it is a business. And I take the position that you are operating a business in a residential zone. That's what you are.
You answered my question. You answered some of my question because before I put on the docket, I started reading the state law and everything and it's quasi. What short-term rental? I could, some people say they rent month to month to their, tenants and
I
everything.
think it's like 30 days.
Yeah.
Anything less than 30 days is the accepted definition.
So you're playing. Some people can play the game. And
One of the things, some of us today before the meeting attended the housing informational seminar upstairs, and there's such a housing need everywhere. That's indisputable, and part of what Airbnb does is takes away. I mean, it helps some people, but it has shortened the amount of rental. For a family to move in when you can rent a room out every night of the week or every 30 days and make a ton of money. That apartment is no longer available for a family. Now, where do you draw the line? Where's big brother, big sister, controlling things? So there are a lot of issues, but let's start first with at least
And I
supporting
think
this.
in the meantime, before, there is legislation that allows for physical licensing, I still think that the ordinance we currently have needs some more teeth, because I definitely know that there are persons who have operations in the city that do not have temporary permits and are not, they're skating under the radar and they're causing a nuisance. And then for one zoning officer to be able to address, there are bigger fish in the sea to fry in the city in terms of development and where those resources I mean, this could be a full-time job in general for somebody, or at least a part-time job, and we don't have the manpower for that. So with that department. So I think there just needs to be more, and people need to be held accountable, because if people start being held accountable and start getting these fines and start having to pay, then they're going to change their method of operation, which is the outcome.
All right, thank you. We'll look for that ordinance at the next meeting, resolution, and, yep, thanks. Next item, please.
Next item, an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 9 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Miscellaneous Offenses. The summary is Section 9-17 through 9-21, revision to city graffiti ordinance, including penalties. The sponsors are Council President Rodrick, Council Vice President Rigo, and Councilwoman Souza.
I'll defer to council members Souza and Rigo, but this is, we did discuss this at length. We're just looking for the second passage this evening. I don't have anything more to add to this. I do have the entire ordinance here, but if there's, without further ado, I would entertain a motion for second passage.
It's a public hearing.
Thank you. Public hearing. Any questions here first, or of the 5 people in the audience, are there any public comments on this? Going once, going twice? You're very quiet tonight. Over there 3 times. I'll close the public hearing. Now I can entertain a motion for approval for second passage.
So I'll just again reiterate by saying that
Sure.
this is something that's really important. The private property, public property is all important property, and keeping the aesthetic of the buildings and property that people have is really important. Having oversight and a little bit more substance within this ordinance to the previous ordinance, I think is really important, and some of the language I think will help do that. I did want to mention, like I mentioned before, there is not, some of the fines and penalties are not in any way to provide hardship to any of the property owners that may be victim to graffiti or any type of negligence to their property via a perpetrator. It is just in a way for the city to make sure that it gets taken care of, cleaned up, and there will be resources provided for those who are in prove financial hardship to be able to do that. I think it's a good piece of legislation. I think it keeps, it will keep hopefully the riffraff and the so-called artists in a different area and keep the integrity of our community the way we expect it to be.
Is that a motion?
It is.
Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Motion made by Councilwoman Souza, seconded by Councilman Rigo. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. So the motion passes 5-1. 4-1. Councilman Lawson is the lone dissenter. The lone man on the
He's
council.
the arts guy.
We're gonna have to check some cameras and see where you are late at night, some of this graffiti. Some of it's pretty good. Next item, please.
Next item, we're going to move to new business, mayor communications.
Napoleon, I love you, but I got to hit the bathroom real quick.
Council President, on this, the first appointment, Richard Brown, this was an error on the agenda. This actually does require council approval for the Economic Development Commission appointee.
Well, with that said, since there is a confusion, can I make a motion that we move this to the next city council?
You could vote on it if you wanted to, but it's up to you.
Motion by Councilman Rigo, seconded by Councilwoman Souza to move the appointment letter A, Richard Brown, to the Economic Development Commission, the term 11/22, 11/20/27. We have a quorum anyway. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Vote passes 4-0.
Who made the second on that? motion?
Councilwoman Souza made the second. So if you want to proceed, Mr. Director.
So the next appointment, not requiring council confirmation, is Meg Robinson, She's a Rumford resident. She's been in the education field, is currently a clinical social worker. She's eager to support the city's efforts to protect and revitalize the natural environment through collaborative work of the Tree Commission. Meg Robinson.
Thank you. Next.
Next is Kara Ashley Evans to the Historic District Commission. She, Rumford resident, she majored in cultural and historic preservation, history, and archaeology at Salve Regina University, has worked at various museums throughout Rhode Island, helped implement several programs. She's looking forward to being part of the East Providence Historic Commission.
Thank you. And Mr. Director, I would have a request to ask you as you go through the list. As you see, it's quite lengthy. Some of the proclamations, we don't need the entire whereases.
Yes,
If you want to just do the title.
I wasn't going to give you the whereases
And
tonight.
it's, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hear your voice that much?
Not that we don't want to hear from you. And just for informational purposes, Councilman Lawson, we
Yeah, I heard.
okay, thank you. So please proceed.
So I'm going to defer to City Solicitor, the discussion on resolution amending Rhode Island General Laws 16-7-41.1 related to reimbursement of interest payments on approved projects prior to the project's substantial completion.
So this is a change of law that actually comes from the city of, I believe, Warwick. Under the current reimbursement rate for school construction, the city and town doesn't get the reimbursement on the interest payments until that project is substantially complete. The Warwick is going through a school building process, much like East Providence is right now with the two middle school, or the middle school and the other elementary school. So if we're asking for support to change the legislation that the interest reimbursement could happen before before the project is substantially complete, basically on every fiscal year. So you get the reimbursement, and it's a way to save taxpayers' money because you don't have to wait to the reimbursement. So.
Are other communities pushing the state legislature
Yes.
too? Okay.
Yes. It's a great, it helps the towns on their budgeting, and it speeds up the reimbursement process.
It's down here for discussion, but we do have a resolution also for this.
Yes, you do, yes.
Could we do that at this time?
To you.
Without, Councilwoman Souza should be right back. Why don't we just wait a second if you want to go on to the next?
Thank you.
Then, thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Mr. Director, if you want to go on to the next item, then we'll come back to the reimbursement.
Okay, I'm just going to read off the bullet points. East Providence Third Municipality signed and learned 365 Rhode Island Compact. The government brought forward National Skilled Nursing Week Proclamation, May 14th to the 20th. Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, month of May. Mental Health Awareness Month, month of May. Jewish American Heritage Month, month of May. LGBTQI plus Pride Month, month of June. Azorian Day, May 29th. Celebration is going to be May 25th. Day of Portugal, June 10th. Celebration, June 6th. And ALS Awareness Month, month of May. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the Executive Assistant for the Mayor, Marlene Davis, for helping me compile all this information. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman, we just read through bullet items there. We are going to take up the school reimbursement issue, which was discussed on letter A under these items. And we have that in our packet, the resolution, I believe sponsored by Councilman Rigo. I don't know if you have a preamble to this, if you want to describe it. It's basically, we just discussed this, and it's memorializing the General Assembly to enact legislation amending state law to provide eligibility for the reimbursement for interest payments on approved school construction projects prior to completion. Do you want to add to that?
The chief of staff and the solicitor summed up everything. It's valuable. It's going to save the city obviously a lot of interest money by us getting a payment from the state instead of us, paying for it ahead of time.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have that, 5-0.
That was easy, Malcolm, again.
Next item, Deputy Clerk. Should be top of page 8, maybe.
Top of page 8, report of other city officials, none. Report of the school committee liaison,
Councilman Lawson, please.
All right, so I got three things to report out today. One, the building committee, they submitted stage 3 of the proposals up to RIDE. As you guys recall from the high school build, they have to submit various stages of where they are in the planning and everything, and RIDE approves as it goes along. So they just did stage 3, and they're making progress. It's kind of exciting, to tell you the truth. Congrats to East Providence High School Unified Basketball League squad. They are the champs. Great victory for them, and it's a source of pride for EP seeing that they won. And I would like to take a moment to read off the East Providence School Department just had their 2023 Teacher of the Year ceremony, which I was lucky to attend. It was awesome. I just want to read off the teachers that were chosen by their peers and such. At the high school, CTC, Keith Anderson. At Riverside Middle School, Kristen Ann Pinero. At Martin, Jody Audette. Myron J. Francis, Kimberly Sherman. Hennessy was Rebecca Vieira. Kent Heights, Regina Jones. Orlo was Nicole Cram. Pre-K, the Tiny Townies, Kristen Johnson. Silver Spring was Abigail Jaffa. Waddington was Jalen Alves. And White Neck was Rafi Rashduni. And the Teacher of the Year was Riverside Middle School's Kristen Ann Pinero.
Yeah, the
So
district.
congrats to all of them. Our students are in great hands. We got amazing teachers. And I'm very happy to give that report.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yep.
Next,
Did we mention that these resolutions are part of the ordinance we passed? It's just cleanup work?
excuse me. Yes, following a few resolutions, we're continuing to clean up the process of aligning our ordinances with the new form of government in the city. You know, eliminating terminology that talks about city manager when we now have mayor. A couple of things that we're trying to add. As I mentioned at the outset of this meeting, and I wasn't feeling well last week, and I'd been working with Solicitor Conley on a lot of these, and we didn't get to meet too often, but we have met initially, and there's substantial progress. And I think by the next meeting, we'll be ready to have that full process before us. But some of this I'd like to get going now. And in particular, I believe the first one is an item that I am sponsoring, to reactivate the Recreation Board. This has been discussed before. I won't go into great detail, but again, we're not looking to reinvent the wheel, to repeat that phrase from tonight. We have always had a recreation board in the city that has no voting authority, that can't spend money, but they would advise the city council on requests and needs. And these are our kids, our families, our coaches, our league directors that would join with us and make recommendations. And we've been hearing a lot from them. I had some calls today saying, gee, when are we going to get going? We really want to make some improvements at Field A or Field B. So I think this is a good start. I'd like to at least start with this one, where it just pretty much reactivates what the city used to have for years. And we all on the council will have an appointment to this rec board. And I have no problem with being flexible. If we want to interchange those members, if we have publicly advertised meetings and the members of the public want to come. I'll give you just one example. I did go to a ball field. I think Councilman Lawson was with me at another day. I was with, I think, Councilman Rigo. And the one example, we have a backstop at a ball field that is probably original. If you're familiar with a softball or baseball fencing and backstop. The bottom of the fencing, which is supposed to go into the ground, because it was probably, I don't know how many decades old, was now out of the ground and curled up with spikes, jagged edges. So if you know the game of softball, girls softball, boys baseball, and there's a pass ball and a catcher or batter, they're running back to the backstop, they're going to get impaled. They're going to at least get hurt badly. And the fencing was bad. We've made a lot of progress. Please don't take this as a negative attack. Recreation, I'm also getting a lot of compliments from people. Pierce Field is looking great. There was a game I had to miss today, Riverside Rec, middle school. That field really looks great, and we're doing more work. But that's the kind of help we would get from the public, where they would sit down and say, we'd like to do this, we'll help with grant writing, and we have some good ideas on funding. A lot of this will not cost budget monies. There are accounts available to cover some of these. So I already said more than I intended to say. So for the resolution for the Recreation Board, I would like to have someone make a motion for.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution establishing the East Providence City Council Advisory Recreation Board.
Second.
Second by Councilman Fogarty, Councilwoman Souza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have that. 5-0. Thank you. The next one, Deputy Clerk, I'm going to give you a little break and sit back for a second. Is another one of these similar resolutions, which I will ask Councilman Lawson to describe, hopefully briefer than I did.
Oh, it will be.
This is
This is just updating the Carousel Commission. What we did was we expanded it a little where, if you know Crescent Park, it's just not the carousel. It's, you got the waterside, the beach, everything. So we're going to call it the East Providence City Council Crescent Park Advisory Commission. The mission's the same. They're going to do programming for the park. They're going to raise funds for keeping up the carousel and stuff. So nothing's changed as far as their mission. We just made it more broad that entire, I call it Crescent Park, the entire park. They can do programming. I'm going to encourage them to do farmers markets and more stuff to really programming in that park from May through October. So this is just an update. Everything's pretty much the same.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second by Councilman Fogarty? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have that, 5-0.
Council
Thank you.
President?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I hate to do this, but can we go back to the resolution establish the Recreation Board? Because after an email exchange today with assistant.
Oh, yes.
We have a sub A. So there was a error in that.
That's right, there was a
The
word.
carousel may have a sub A as well.
Okay. I think we have this, I think the sub A, well, let's go back to recreation first.
Okay.
And there was just a one change in the, one of the whereas clauses because it had a,
I think it listed the carousel.
correct.
There was a typo evidently where the rec board, it also had a sentence that talked about the carousel. That was supposed to be separate.
Says the only change is the title of the board within the therefore clause. There appears to have been a scrivener's error there. Other than that, it almost identically mirrors the current ordinance.
So what do you need us to do?
I just need you to
rescind.
Rescind the prior vote, and this, we're going to pass the sub A of the Recreation Committee.
Make a motion to rescind the prior vote.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have.
Make a motion to approve sub
Sub
A.
A, yeah.
Second.
And it was just one minor change.
Motion by Councilman Lawson, Councilwoman Souza, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor, for that.
Is there any others, Mike, that we gotta stop for a second to make sure we're on the right one? Is there any more sub As?
I'm looking at Assistant Solicitor Jill's email to me. No, I don't believe the Crescent Park was okay.
It should be okay.
Yep.
The only other two were the harbor and the senior and
Harbor
disabled.
and
I think
disabled.
we're okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
That's okay, we'll let it go.
Hey.
Who was the first and second on the Crescent Park? Because we were figuring that out.
I made the motion, I think.
Councilwoman Souza, second.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Welcome. That brings us to number 3, the resolution establishing the East Providence City Council Harbor Management Commission. Again, it goes along with reestablishing this resolution as we continue to build up the East Providence waterfront. And I know we've had correspondence from the CRMC, the RIDEM. We've had that bridge removal down at the Wachamoket area. We're doing a lot of work on the waterfront. And not only does the state advise, but I think it's a good idea to have an active harbor management commission. And this would create the Harbor Management Commission for the city. The purpose, again, is an advisory body for the city council to be responsible for developing a harbor management plan. We obviously would work with our harbor master, in which we have. So therefore, be it resolved that the East Providence City Council declares and establishes the Harbor Management Commission. And it lists the members. We would each, city council would appoint members. When vacancies occur, they would be filled. Pretty standard commission stuff. As Councilman Lawson said earlier, sometimes we establish these and we don't give direction. So we're trying to beef all of that up. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
Second?
By Councilman Rigo, seconded by Councilwoman Souza. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank
Bob,
you.
you got your captain's hat to wear?
Yes, we'll all be issued captain's
Nice.
hats. I was asked to sponsor the next resolution on the Senior and Disabled Citizens Advisory Commission. I think Councilwoman Souza, you had some ideas on this as well, Lo, and may have talked about this with maybe more with playgrounds and recreations, but I don't know if you want to add anything.
Is this one new? or-
Senior and Disabled resolution, which would establish a Senior and Disabled Citizens Advisory Committee, whereas the council desires to create the Senior and Disabled Citizen Advisory Committee, another kind of a reactivation of something that, you know, we've had. It's a limited and sole recommendation that not a voting body. It'll consist of members limited to residents at or over the age of 65 years. And a quorum shall consist of a majority of appointed members. It's standard stuff. I'm not going to read all this.
Make it.
Let's hear from our senior population on what they need and what they want. Any comments? If not, is there a motion?
A motion to approve.
Second?
Motion to approve by Councilwoman Souza, seconded by Councilman Rigo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Moving right along, I would go to Deputy Clerk. I think are we on number 5 on page 9?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you want to take it from here.
Sure.
The
Resolution.
break is over.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with K Electric, Inc. for installation of string lighting along the East Bay Bike Path in Riverside Square. Sponsor, Councilman Lawson.
This is just more improvements, Riverside Square. I encourage everyone to come visit us in Southern EP. It is up and coming. It is really looking awesome down in Riverside Square.
Can you answer me a question? From here, how long does it take to get to Southern EP?
Depends who you talk to.
Hall?
You may have to pack a lunch if you're from Rumford.
I even called them last week to go get Chinese food down there. I called them.
That's right, buddy.
I called them.
There are some businesses that do not deliver to the center of the city
No,
because it's too far.
Same thing. Hey, how do you think I
That's
feel?
crazy.
Northern end.
I had somebody complain about, we talked about making Union Primary an art center. They said that's so far. I left the arts, Union Primary, drove to the carousel, 7 miles on one road.
Yeah.
But that's a hardship. I love my fellow
Long
townies.
city.
So if there's no questions on this, I'll make a motion.
The amount is $88,429. It's being funded by a grant from Commerce Rhode Island.
Yep.
And the company is K Electric, Inc. And as the councilman described, it is for the installation of string lighting with poles along the East Bay Bike Path in Southern EP, otherwise known as Riverside Square. Is that a motion, Councilman?
That is a motion.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Fogarty. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have. Any opposed? It's unanimous.
And we do call West Barrington South Riverside.
Next item, Deputy.
Next item, we are going to move to introduction of ordinances for discussion and possible vote. An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 11 of the revised ordinances of the City of East Providence, Rhode Island, 1998, as amended, entitled Military Duty. It's Section 11-93, authorizing the pay differential for qualified employees who are deployed for 365 days or less in the armed forces. The sponsor is Councilman Lawson.
I would just add that I had received some requests from citizens who were requesting assistance for police officer, other first responders who get deployed to see action, overseas, and that in some cases there could be a little loss of income. It's not a big ticket item, so I did assign to Councilman Lawson, knowing his connection with Veteran Affairs and being a veteran himself, that it seemed like a very fair request to honor not only a veteran or other veterans in our city, but at the same time wearing a hat of being a first responder. So Councilman Lawson took it from there and was able to work with the law department, and I believe you have a resolution ready.
So this applies to any city employee, not just first responders.
Yes.
So any city employee who's a member of the Guard or Reserve, this is basically just updating what we had where we would cover Guard and Reserve do a 2-week deployment every year. There are some that get deployed, they get called up and they're headed overseas, and that deployment could be up to a year. So all this is doing is just covering that person for up to 365 days if their unit gets called up. We don't want any military family to have a financial hardship because a member of that family is off serving this country. So this, the rank, it depends on their rank, and this is their base pay. It doesn't include overtime and stuff. So if their military pay is less than what their base pay with the City of East Providence is, we'll cover that gap.
And I want to add too that I also spoke with Councilman Fogarty, who was instrumental in getting some background information for this, and I know worked alongside to. I think it doesn't need much else description. This is an honorable thing to do for our citizens who serve. Is that a motion, Council?
Yeah, and I want to thank Mike for meeting with me so we could discuss this and make sure that it covers the bases, and everything was great. So thank you for that. I'll make a motion.
And a second by Councilman Fogarty. And I would add to the record, seconded by all of us. First passage, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Councilman Lawson, for your work on that, and Mr. Solicitor.
Motion to adjourn?
No. Before we adjourn, I just want to ask our new city clerk, Ms. Seppa, have we scared you away? Will you be back tomorrow? Okay, I will meet with you here at City Hall tomorrow morning. Deputy Clerk, thank you very much. And you're still going to be here for a little while. You're not, on vacation yet. So thank you all. Yes. Councilman Rigo moves adjournment. Seconded by Councilman Lawson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all.
I was off by 24 minutes. I said 8:30. There we go. It's on.